Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you joining me here, stopping on by. We are returning to Rod Stewart. I was really impressed by the last song we listened to with the killing of Georgie, and I would love to hear some more. And a lot of you guys had pointed me in this direction of this album, this particular track, so let's go ahead and do it. This is going to be Maggie May we're going to be listening to today. This is off of the album. Hold on, I just had it. Every Picture Tells a Story, released in 1971, his third studio album. There are many. There's many names in here, but some of you that were recommended to this track would be James Warner, Michael Gray, Floating Anarchy, Mark Gattaca, Third Coast, not second, not first, but Third Coast, Richard Furness, Lewis, Edward Sigmahoney, I'm doing this quick, Peter Grant, Acosta Blown, Brian Silber, Kirby Williamson, Malik Mo, Relayer, Big Lane, Adele Little, and it just goes on and on and on and on from there. So thank you guys for the recommendation. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and listen to it. We'll talk about it after. Here we go. Got a Baroque flavor, huh?
You turned into a lover and mother, what a love
Love those bluesy solos that just kind of spring out. That's sensational. All right, so I've only heard two songs by Rod Stewart, so, what can I say? But what I can say, based off the two tracks that I've heard, is that he's an excellent storyteller. He does a great job of bringing lyrics to life, of really making you involved in the story, even though it's from a vantage point of just being the watcher and not literally involved. But he does a great job of bringing you in the closest, most intimate way possible, especially with a story like this or a story like the last one. I mean, there are serious themes being thrown in and spoken about in both of them, right? And I think he does a fantastic job here. Was not expecting that, to me, that Baroque-esque opening, which is like kind of classical. That was very, very cool. And then it was seemingly kind of brought back later on in this song near the ending with what I see is actually the mandolin performed by Ray Jackson, which is kind of interesting because I love it has a note that on the album it says that it's listed as the mandolin was played by the mandolin player in Lindisfarne. The name slips my mind. So we've listened to some Lindisfarne here, but I think that is so funny. It's like, I can't remember what his exact name, but it's the guy from this band. Can you imagine if it was like a major, it was that guitar player from that one band, Queen? You may have heard of them, like something like that. So that aside, just wonderful songwriting and wonderful musicianship from an instrumental point of view. I love the inclusion of the organ in there. That's going to be performed. Hold on, I have the name here. That's going to be performed by Ian McLaughlin. And then what I thought was like some sort of electric piano sound was actually the Celesta, performed by Pete Sears. So it's these little instruments like the Celesta or the mandolin that are brought in and add a certain dash of something into the mix, which is wonderful. And yet these things don't take away from the overall flavor of the music. They just add another dimension to it. The guitar solos were excellent. The first sounding more acoustic, the second a little bit more bluesy and electric. It just adds a lot of diversity. And I like how none of this takes away from the lyrics, the story that he's setting up and telling us about. Let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? All right, so I think a lot of the story, I think a lot of this is going to depend on the age. Because he's a school age, so I'm assuming that there's some illegalities going on here, but let's dive into this one. Wake up, Maggie, I think I've got something to tell you. It's late September, and I really should be back to school. So, where's Rod Stewart from? Give me a second. I don't even know. I really don't know anything about him. Is he American or is he British? He's British. Okay. All right. So I don't know when school is. School comes back from summer. Do you guys have summer break over there? You guys have to have summer break. Okay. But I'm assuming that perhaps Rod was not going to make that joke. Rod was being used perhaps over the summer break, and he's like, hey, I got to go back to school, which of course gives us insight into his age and circumstances. Okay, that's a great way to set up the song. Those three lines, you're in. I know I keep you amused, but I feel like I'm being used. Oh, Maggie, I couldn't have tried more. You led me away from home just to save you from being alone. You stole my heart, and that's what hurts. So obviously he's in a relationship with an older woman as we go on, and or maybe it could be even a teacher. Who knows? But someone older than him, and he seems to be a school age. So I'm just going to assume that he's underage. And so, like I said, there's some issues going on here, right? Now, before I dive in, let's go even further in the lyrics. The morning sun, when it's on your face, really shows your age. But don't worry me none. In my eyes, you're everything. I laughed at all your jokes, my love. You didn't need to coax. So Maggie, I couldn't have tried more. You led me away from home just to save you from being alone. Let me move on here. All you did was wreck my bed, and in the morning kick me in my head. Oh Maggie, I couldn't have tried more because you led me away from home. Okay, so it's interesting because you always hear. Well, let's dive in, right? You always hear stories of teachers having relationships with students. Let's just use the illegal way, right? Like underage and such. And when it's a male teacher and a female student, it's looked at a certain way. When it's a female teacher and a male student, it's looked at in a completely different way. That's the case we're looking at here. And I like how he admits, like, in some ways, he was enjoying some things. But the overall feeling and the overall conclusion that it comes to is that he feels used. Obviously, he was abused. He's beginning to feel those regrets and those feelings. So I like how he approaches it, admitting in some ways, okay, some things I enjoyed, but the overall, trauma, depression, the things that come in after, that's where we're really finding him here. I mean, which makes sense timeline-wise, coming off of summer break, yay, fun, whatever, but now going back to school, the realizations and such. That's really good. I suppose I could collect my books and get on back to school, or steal my daddy's cue and make a living playing pool, or find myself a rock and roll band that needs a helping hand. Oh, Maggie, I wish I'd never seen your face. You made a first-class fool of me. But as blind as a fool can be, you stole my heart, but I love you anyway. So, like, that's the thing. He doesn't really love her, right? It's that, what's that? It's not, Stockholm Syndrome-esque, but it's that misguided love from an abused person to an abuser. It's that misguided affection. This is deep. This is good. And then once again, Maggie, I wish I'd never seen your face. I'll get on back home one of these days. There's the duality, right? In one point he says, this is cool. On the other hand, he's like, I'm trying to get away from you. This is really, really great the way that that's written. It says, Rod Stewart recalls the circumstances that inspired the song. This is kind of long. Let me read it quick. In 1961, a few of my mates and I went off to the south of England to camp out at the jazz festival. I was 16, coming out of my beatnik phase, wondering whether I should become a mod. That afternoon, we snuck into the festival through a large runoff pipe. There I met an older woman who was something of a sexual predator. One thing led to another, and we ended up on a secluded piece of lawn. I was a virgin, and all I could think, this is it, Rod, you better put in a good performance. But it was all over in a few seconds. Her name wasn't Maggie May, but the experience I had with her would influence the writing of this song 10 years later. So there's at least some of the background. There's a little bit more around here, but that's at least some of the background on this one. It says that it went to #1 on the UK singles chart for 5 weeks. I don't know why I said 5 like that. And also topped Australia, Canada, and the US as well. So really great track. Thank you guys so much for the recommendation. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you enjoy the channel, you enjoy what I do, and you want to support me for as little as $2 a month, you can do that on Patreon. And otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you all later. Bye.